Well, hello, hello. Tiffany Haynes here. I wanted to spend some time with you as we begin and continue on in our series of shift tips where we are now addressing, okay, trading time for money and really exploring and diving deep into how an employee views time and how you should be viewing time as a CEO, right? So this is the difference. This is the shift that I want us to talk about today. I've got some really great points that I want to just convey over to you. This is the same thing that has helped me. It's the same shift I had to go through. And so because it's the same thing I had to go through, I want to be able to give you the answers to the test, right? I want to give you the cheat code. And so let's get into it. So, one of the very first things that you're going to have to do is audit all of your time and how it's going to be spent as a CEO, right? And so you can start that now as an employee and say to yourself, how do I spend my time? And if you're starting something new, launching something new, how do I now need to spend my time? So if you're an employee, you have assigned tasks, you have certain things that you have to complete every day, and you go and you complete those tasks. So what does that mean? You're now trading your time for money. I'm going to give you an hour of my time, and you're going to, in exchange, give me money, right, for my hour. If you're salary, you can still divide up that salary into the average amount of hours that you're working, and you're trading time for money. Okay. This is the employee mindset of how money works when it comes to what you have to do to get it. You have to trade time for it. All right. That is how you view it. What I want you to do is to start to look at your time being more valuable than money. Your time is not a replenishable resource like money is, right? So your time should be more valuable than that. So because it's more valuable than that, I want to talk about the three things that you should be spending time on as a CEO, okay? The very first thing is anything that's going to be dealing with your revenue. High impact activities, income generating activities, right? So if you have a business and you structure and establish this business, and like me, you're like, well, I don't really want to do the sales calls. That is a revenue generating activity. That's the thing you should consider doing, right? I know you like to design your own social media because you love working in Canva. I know that you truly enjoy doing the payroll because you like working in numbers and you like reviewing everything. But the thing that you need to start to consider is, can I transition those things so that I can focus on things that are actually going to help me generate revenue? Does it move the needle? Does it take a decimal and move it over, a comma and add it? Okay. That's the kind of activities that you want to be working on when you're thinking about how you now want to use your time. How you now want to use something that's more valuable than money. You want to be thinking about, at least when I am doing, is generating revenue in my company. It's generating revenue. It's going to move the needle. Okay. So that's point number one. The second thing, okay, which is something that I'm going to share a story about for what I did in my business, is you want to do something that is a return on investment, but not about money with your time. Meaning, if you spent time doing it, it will give you more time back later. If you spend an hour creating a procedure, right, you can then hand that off to someone that can take something that takes you an hour a day to do, and now they can do that thing. So you can spend 1 hour creating a procedure and it just gave you 365 hours back for the year, right? So you get a return on your time, a return on investment. And one of the things we did when I started my real estate VA company, one of the things that happened was Tristan and I, she was my very first hire. We were working in the business. We were having some success, but it definitely felt like I was ready to scale, but I wasn't really sure how to do it. It definitely felt like it was like water coming out of a fire hose of tasks that I had to do, but it really was no structure and I hadn't established any systems around it. And I was a little bit frustrated. I was excited for the potential of growth, but I really wasn't sure how to transition into that potential. And so what I ended up doing is I'm going to share with you the book that I read. So as I was going through this whole thing, I read this book. Okay. The E-Myth, why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it. This is the book that I read. And I'm telling y'all, I was about ready to run through a wall. I was so excited after I read this book about doing the thing that I never thought I would be excited to do. And after reading this book, we decided we're going to work solely on establishing our procedures, establishing our processes. And what we did, okay, is we established processes and procedures for positions that we did not have yet. They were not hired. We had no potential. There were no pending applicants. Okay. But yet we established procedures for them. We established procedures for a transaction coordinator because I own a real estate VA company. We established procedures for a transaction coordinator, for a listing coordinator, for a marketing manager, for admin manager, right? We established procedures for the TCs, which is the transaction coordinators that will work under them. We established procedures for every layer in the business that we felt like we would need. We established procedures for the client experience. We established procedures for onboarding new hires and offboarding new hires and onboarding new clients. We established procedures for all of this. Okay. True story. After we established procedures, even though it was just Tristan and I, we established the procedures. We built a hierarchy. On the hierarchy, we said, oh, well, out of all the 15 positions, right? Tristan and I were doing multiple things in multiple positions within probably 7 months to a year. Okay. To ensure that it captures all positions. Within 7 months to a year, those positions were filled. That is a true story. That is how effective it is to spend your time establishing processes and procedures. Because when you do that, there is a return that you're going to get that you cannot even quantify. And when you get up every day, right, and you can't spend time doing your policy and procedures because maybe you're working on designing graphics for social media, maybe you're working on just any task that is not driving revenue. It's a task that's not going to help you get a return on your time later. You need to now reconsider, why am I doing this? Am I working on this because it's the same thing I worked on yesterday? And then you might snap at me with frustration and say, because it's got to be done. But guess what happens? If you establish a procedure in a role and you can say, man, in my mind, this is how you have to do it too, guys. First of all, you got to read the book first. It's definitely going to help. You have to establish in your mind the way that I want to do it, the standard that I want to set, the values that I want to infuse in my company. This is the perfect way that somebody would fulfill this role. This is the perfect way that somebody would come in and support me in doing this role. They would come in every day. They would do this. How would they do this? Well, they would open up this first, then they would fill this out. Then they would utilize this software. Then they would update this. Then and you can just write out what this person would do that doesn't exist, but it ain't you. Okay. They don't exist yet, but it will not be you in the future. And you establish that. And guess what's going to happen? Over time, your eyes are going to lock in on talent in your company. Your eyes are going to lock in on somebody on an application where they say this is the experience they have. It's going to match perfectly with the procedures you already have. Or the fact that you have the procedures will give you the confidence to even look for the person. Because you know that when they walk through your virtual doors or your physical doors, you're not just handing them a bunch of papers with flying out a folder saying, can you help me? You actually are handing them something organized and clean that says, this is exactly how we do it here. This is exactly in the order we do it. This is the accountability that we have around the thing. This is when the thing is going to be due. This is when you're going to be paid. It's so organized that the help will just come to you. All right. So spend your time establishing procedures, spend your time creating things that are going to give you your time back later. Okay. So that is the second point. Now, this is my favorite. Okay. This is my favorite. This is the third point of how you can stop trading your time for money and get out of that mindset as an employee, and how you can now use your time like a CEO. I want you to get out of the weeds, to get out of the close eye view of what the business is doing every day. And I want you to take new heights like an eagle. And I want you to have a bird's eye view of your business. And I want you to do strategic planning. How much of your day is spent on just thinking of a better way to do something? Thinking, can this be automated? Thinking on where is this business going to be in 12 months at the rate it's going now? Thinking on, if I were to hire 2 new people in the next 90 days, how could I leverage them, use them, apply them into what we do? Spend more time thinking about the future. And you know why? Because it's now your job to think about the future. Nobody else. I promise you, nobody else is going to think about the future of your company like you would. And so it is your job to not get lost in the weeds, but to force yourself to pull yourself back. I have a video I did about taking your business on a vacation, right? So, and I'll link it in this video down below. But if you begin to carve out the time where you look at your business from a bird's eye view and begin to do strategic planning, wealth is intentional. Wealth is a strategy. It will not happen on accident. If it does happen on accident, you won't be able to duplicate it the next day. If you go viral with one clip and that helps you, that infuses sales into your business for 30 days, what are you going to do in 60, 90, 120 days? Wealth is intentional. If you don't take the time away to strategically plan your business, to strategically look at what's going to happen a year, 2, 3 years from now, I promise you, what the goals that you want to have, they will not present themselves. It won't be fruitful. Okay. So those are the 3 things that you can do immediately to start to shift your mindset. And even before you have the business, you can start to think about these things, right? What am I doing every day that's going to change the trajectory of my life? That's going to be high impact. That's going to establish the procedures and things that I want to see in my business. Start to read the books. Okay, here I'll put it up again. But start to read the book that changed the game for me, because it's going to help you when you do get the business. It's going to help you be able to establish the policy and procedures. It's going to help you think about, how do I align my values with the processes that my company is going to be doing? It's going to help you do all the things. Okay, all the things. So thank you for your time today. Thank you for exploring the opportunity of thinking outside of what you might be thinking as an employee, and how you can begin to think as a CEO. If you want to hear about the business that I started, I scaled, and I now sustain, go to tiffany'smasterclass.com. I do a live masterclass throughout the week where you can learn about how you could potentially do the same business, if that is your desire. Okay, if that's your desire. Until next time, this is Shift Tips with Tiffany Haynes. I'll see you soon.